The VLGA has put together a councillor professional development program that not only aligns with the Victorian Government's mandatory guidelines, but does so in a cost-effective and time-efficient way. The series of learning intensives planned for later in the year allow councils to partner with their neighbouring councils to deliver core training. All modules are covered in 6 half-day sessions, and because the learning is shared with other councils, the costs are significantly reduced. The VLGA also offers bespoke training and can customise a program that responds directly to the unique professional development needs of your council. No matter your preferred method of delivery, the VLGA Councillor Professional Development Program will increase councillor confidence and competence. To find out more, email vlga@vlga.org.au. Councils consider legal options over an unpopular state tax, a multi-million-dollar parking fine error at Merri-bek, the latest Victorian Council CEO to call it quits. Golden Plains finally gets its last councillor. A mayor and union clash over planned job cuts. A controversial policy voted down on a mayor's casting vote. Townsville workers vote to go on strike. And Adelaide Council and the state government at odds over a controversial golf course plan. If you want to know what's going on in local government, you've come to the right place. It's the Local Government News Roundup. I'm Chris Eddy. It's Wednesday the 18th of June. Welcome along to today's edition, brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. The Victorian Government's controversial Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund levy continues to cause concern and anger across the state, despite an announced pause on the levy increase for the forthcoming year. Cardinia Shire Council has this week moved to clarify its position on the levy after reports that it had rejected joining a proposed council-led revolt. Yarra Mayor Stephen Jolly is leading a push for boycotts and a potential legal challenge, and the Berwick News reported that Cardinia would not be joining in that action. In a statement, Mayor Jack Kowaczyk explained that the council has consistently expressed its concerns about the impact of the levy on the community, particularly farmers, but is legally required to collect the fees on behalf of the state government. He said the council is actively working with local government colleagues to advocate on the matter and had submitted a motion to the MAV's May State Council meeting highlighting the significant impact on local government and the community, especially on primary production properties. Hobsons Bay City Council has not confirmed if it will be part of a legal challenge after it was mentioned by Councillor Jolly in a radio interview as having been part of discussions on the matter. Mayor Daria Callender told the Star Weekly that her council opposes the mandate and is against councils being forced to act as tax collectors, and she said they're reviewing legal advice and considering next steps. At Baw Shire, Mayor Danny Goss, back from a recent 21-day suspension, has signed a letter calling on the government to repeal the levy and undertake genuine consultation in developing a more equitable funding mechanism to support emergency services. The letter is the result of a council resolution in May, prompted by a notice of motion from Councillor Ben Lucas. The decision was made in front of a large crowd of frustrated farmers and emergency service volunteers, just days before the government said it would cap the levy for farmers for 1 year. A notice of motion from Councillor Jolly will go before a meeting of Yarra City Council tonight, seeking authorisation to obtain legal advice on whether it can refuse to collect the levy and the possibility of a legal challenge. The motion also seeks to canvass interest from other councils and interested groups to collectively advocate against the levy. The Yarra meeting agenda, scheduled for 6:30 at the Richmond Town Hall tonight, also includes the adoption of a new council plan and annual budget. An administrative error dating back more than 10 years has led to a decision by Merri-bek Council to refund parking fine revenue collected since 2013. The council this week announced it would launch a parking refund scheme relating to 11 minor types of infringements incurred up until last week. It was recently discovered that no formal resolution was in place to set a 0.5 penalty unit for those infringements, which is higher than the default rate of 0.2 penalty units. The most common infringement affected is for overstaying a parking time limit. Infringements against road rules are unaffected, as those penalties were issued validly under the Road Safety Act. The Age estimated the total refund figure at between $10 and $12.4 million. Council CEO Cathy Henderson said the historical error was regrettable and apologised for the impact of the overcharge. She said the council's action to fix the mistake showed the council's commitment to transparency. The refund scheme is expected to be operational next month, with affected motorists able to apply for a refund for the overcharged amount of their parking fine, ranging from $45 to $59 per parking fine. Frankston Council CEO Phil Cantillon has announced his resignation after 6 years in the role and more than 7 at the council. Mr Cantillon says he'll finish up next month and will be taking a break after 40 years in public service, including roles with state governments in Victoria, New South Wales and Tasmania. He was reappointed on a 3-year contract in 2023. Mayor Chris Bolam said Mr Cantillon's departure would be felt across the organisation and the broader community, and paid tribute to his leadership, which has been instrumental in building momentum for the city's transformation. Councillor Bolam said the council will now appoint an interim CEO before undertaking a comprehensive recruitment process for a permanent successor. Dominic Cook has been elected as a councillor on Golden Plains Shire Council after the VEC conducted a countback of votes from the October 2024 general election. The election manager, Kim Ham, declared the result at 4 p.m. on Monday. The countback included unsuccessful candidates who were still eligible for election. Mr Cook was the last eligible candidate standing after John Crow last week failed to return a declaration of eligibility within the required 48 hours. The vacancy on Golden Plains Council occurred after the resignation of Councillor Brett Cunningham. Bass Coast Shire CEO Greg Box has confirmed a break-in at the Grantville transfer station this week, resulting in significant building damage. A stolen safe was quickly recovered with all funds intact, thanks to the swift action of council staff and Victoria Police. He said while the facility remains operational, visitors may face temporary restrictions and delays as police investigations continue and repair work commences. And the government has announced over $4 million in funding for upgrades to 19 libraries across the state. Croydon Library is receiving $1 million for a new facility, including a black box theatre and community spaces. Other major upgrades are planned for Dandenong, Gisborne, Bulleen, Bayswater, Corryong and Thomastown. The funding program also includes technology improvements, outreach lockers and after-hours access modifications at libraries across metropolitan, regional and rural Victoria. In other news in brief, Frankston Mayor Chris Bolam is planning a return visit to Annapolis, Maryland later this year to formalise a new Friendship City agreement. Councillor Bolam undertook a self-funded visit to the US city earlier this year to meet with its mayor before proposing the arrangement, which has now been endorsed by both city councils. Candidate nominations are now open for Darebin City Council's Northwest Ward and the City of Whittlesea's Layla Ward by-elections. Nominations close at 12 noon on Tuesday the 24th of June. And Bass Coast Shire Council is seeking expressions of interest from female-identifying artists for a public art commission at the Union Theatre in Wonthaggi. The artwork will honour the historic Wonthaggi Miners Women's Auxiliary, founded in 1934, and it's being funded through the Victorian Women's Public Art Program. This is the Local Government News Roundup for Wednesday the 18th of June, brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, which has its Governance Advisory Network meeting coming up on Friday from 12 p.m. And the VLGA will soon be launching 2 new model governance policies. Those policies and the GAN network are available to VLGA member councils and are part of the member value add. As always, you can find out more by visiting vlga.org.au. On to our New South Wales report now. The Mayor of Shoalhaven and union representatives have clashed over potential job cuts. The United Services Union claims up to 110 council positions could be axed under a new plan, representing 1 in 5 staff members. However, Mayor Patricia White has strongly rejected those allegations in a report from HR Leader. The union's spokesperson, Stuart Geddes, claims that some council employees are deeply distressed, with one member facing possible homelessness if job losses eventuate. Mayor White maintains the council is following a transparent financial sustainability project and said her office remains open for discussions with union representatives. Yesterday, the union said it would be meeting with the mayor and wants to know how many jobs will be cut and from what departments. Angry protesters rallied outside Northern Beaches Council's meeting last night as the council voted through its budget, including a 25.2% rate increase over 2 years. The council argued the rate hike, equivalent to an additional $168 next year for the average ratepayer, is necessary for financial sustainability and infrastructure maintenance. The increase will generate an extra $50 million in revenue and comes after IPART rejected an initial bid for a 40% increase over 3 years. The Manly Observer reports this morning that dissenters who packed the public gallery displaying placards say they will be fighting back. The budget passed by a vote of 11-4. A Midwestern Regional Council report has revealed that the December 2024 by-election in Mudgee cost nearly $300,000, approximately $50,000 over budget. The Mudgee Guardian reported that the majority of expenses went to the New South Wales Electoral Commission to conduct the by-election, which was triggered by the resignation of Sherelle Fellows and resulted in the election of Rod Pryor. There was criticism over the council's decision to hold a by-election instead of using a less expensive countback system. Meanwhile, Midwestern Regional Council is seeking direct negotiations for the naming rights of Glen Willows Stadium after a public tender failed to attract any submissions. The stadium, which has hosted major NRL fixtures and will welcome the Penrith Panthers in August, remains without a naming rights partner, despite its growing profile and praised facilities. The Mudgee Guardian reported that the council is hoping to offset operational costs through sponsorship. A new elections amendment bill in the New South Wales Parliament seeks to make a number of changes, including removing the option to use a private election provider. If passed, the bill will limit pre-poll voting to 5 days and remove the option for councils to fill vacancies through countbacks from September 2028. LG New South Wales President Phyllis Miller said the peak body is reviewing the bill to understand the implications for the sector. It comes as councils receive their final invoices for last year's elections, and Councillor Miller said she's been alerted to some extraordinary instances of sharply increased costs. She's engaging with the Electoral Commission to understand the reasons for the increases. Kiama Council has extended CEO Jane Stroud's contract for another 3 years, taking her through until mid-2028, following a positive performance review. In a statement, the council said it had approved a 3% pay rise and Ms Stroud's request for a 3-year extension. She joined the council in 2021 after previous senior roles at Logan and Southern Downs councils in Queensland. And tributes are being paid to the first female mayor of the city of Lismore, Ros Irwin, who has died at 82 after a short illness. Dr Irwin was first elected to the council in 1991 and then as mayor in 1997, stepping down in 2008. She's being remembered as a trailblazer for women in local government. Read more from ABC News, The Daily Telegraph and the Lismore app. Links in our transcript. Vale, Ros Irwin. On to Queensland now, and frontline staff at Townsville City Council have reportedly voted to begin strike action. The council says it has presented a good faith pay offer that is financially responsible, but the AWU told the Townsville Bulletin its members are demanding a ratepayer value committee to divert money away from senior executives. The vote to pursue protected industrial action was taken yesterday. A controversial policy requiring Cairns councillors to organise meetings with developers through official channels has been rejected in a 5-5 vote, with Mayor Amy Eden casting the deciding vote against it. The Cairns Post reported that Mayor Eden was very critical of the proposal, believing that it would create institutionalised mistrust. The policy was proposed by council officers to promote transparent governance and equal access to councillors, with those in favour arguing it would have ensured ethical behaviour and clear guidelines for developer interactions. The Australian Festival of Chamber Music has announced it will relocate from Townsville to Cairns in the next year due to infrastructure limitations. The Townsville Bulletin reported the decision to relocate has prompted Townsville's federal member Philip Thompson to criticise the City Council for poor leadership. The controversy has centred on a debate over the allocation of funding between a proposed concert hall and a Reef HQ refurbishment. Acting Mayor Anne-Marie Graney has defended the council's decision-making in a financially challenging environment. Meanwhile, Cairns Regional Council has expressed its excitement at securing the event from July next year, saying it's helping to bring more live music, creative opportunities and vibrancy to the region. Delassa Yorkston has been appointed as the new Chief Executive of the Northern Peninsula Area Regional Council in Cape York. Ms Yorkston is moving from Torres Shire Council, where she's served for 17 years. She'll commence in the role on the 4th of August. Her appointment comes after a period of instability at the council, which included several short-term CEOs and the recent ousting of former Chief Executive Kate Galloway after a community petition called for her dismissal. More news briefs from around the country. Central Coast Council in New South Wales and the University of Newcastle have announced a collaboration to create a makerspace on the top floor of the new $32.7 million Gosford Regional Library. The facility will provide advanced equipment like 3D printers and virtual reality goggles for students, community members and local businesses. Townsville City Council will reduce its rate in the dollar by 18% in response to a 27% increase in state government land valuations, aiming to ease cost of living pressures on households. It's the first time in 10 years the council has reduced its rate in the dollar. And the City of Greater Geraldton is calling on residents to register their plantings of seedlings, shrubs and trees as part of its efforts to reach 1 million trees planted by 2029. Since the project's launch in 2010, more than 563,000 plantings have been registered, and Mayor Jerry Clune is looking for a concerted effort to make every tree count. In Tasmania, the Mayor of Central Coast, Cheryl Fuller, says the community is devastated at this week's fatal shooting of a 25-year police veteran, Constable Keith Smith. She said the effects of the tragedy will be broad and long-lasting and told The Advocate the council had reached out to staff at the police station. The council's CEO, Vicky Brereton, has a background in policing and said everyone is feeling a sense of shock and worry. North West Tasmanian Council's Circular Head is set to pass its budget this week, including a 4.8% increase in rates income. Mayor Gerard Blizzard said the council understands the pressures faced by residents and that they developed a budget that balances affordability with real outcomes. It includes a $3.8 million West Esplanade foreshore transformation as a budget centrepiece, conditional on securing half of that in grant funding. The council has forecast an operating loss of $1.4 million for next year. Making headlines in South Australia, Adelaide City Council has expressed strong opposition to the state government's unilateral decision to take control of North Adelaide Golf Course for Live Golf. Acting Lord Mayor Phil Martin said yesterday the announcement had come amid ongoing negotiations and despite the council's century-long management of the facility. He said the council remains committed to maintaining public ownership of the course, protecting trees and ensuring proper consultation. It's highly critical of the Premier's approach of using legislation to bypass council involvement despite previous collaborative discussions. A long-standing South Australian mayor has sounded a warning for the local government sector after an unprecedented wave of resignations among council members due to widespread bullying and harassment. Robert Breer, the mayor of Norwood, Payneham and St Peters Council since 2005, says women in leadership positions are being disproportionately targeted. He's revealed in an opinion piece published by In Daily that at least 3 current mayors have already decided not to contest next year's elections due to ongoing harassment. Mayor Bria has joined other council leaders in supporting a call for the Equal Opportunity Commissioner to conduct a formal inquiry into bullying and harassment within local government. The proposed investigation aims to gather concrete data on the scope and impact of the issue, particularly its gender-based aspects. And LGA South Australia CEO Clinton Jury is leaving the role after nearly 4 years, according to a report from inside local government. The association will appoint an acting CEO while conducting a recruitment process for a permanent replacement. During his tenure, Mr Jury has strengthened member value, fostered a positive workplace culture and successfully secured new funding and partnerships. And in WA, the Shire of Mundaring Council has elected a new Deputy Shire President at its latest meeting. Councillor Luke Ellery has stepped into the role vacated by outgoing Deputy Shire President Trish Cook, who resigned after being elected as the federal member for Bullwinkle. The council is seeking approval to leave Ms Cook's position vacant until elections in October. Meanwhile, the council has adopted a new AI policy based on state government principles to maximise benefits while managing risks. The policy was adopted despite concerns from some residents and councillors about data privacy and protection, according to a report from the Echo newspaper. The policy emphasises that AI tools should only be used as a starting point and not replace human decision-making. Now, just while we're on that topic of AI and its take-up in local government, I had the pleasure recently of attending an event organised by Symphony 3 at the AWS Builders Studio in Melbourne, an event attended by a number of representatives of councils from around Victoria. It was a fascinating and eye-opening experience, and I've recorded a few interviews to put together for a special edition of the Roundup, which will take a look at how councils are approaching the opportunities being presented by the rapid growth of generative AI technology. Look out for that special edition of the Roundup coming very soon. Now for a look at some choice stories from overseas in our global report. In the UK, Labor has lost its majority control of Cheshire West and Chester Council after two councillors resigned from the party, according to BBC News. They both said they no longer recognise the party and that it isn't representing working class interests. The council is now under no overall control. Labor holds 35 of 70 seats. The Conservative Party has 22 seats, and the remaining seats are split between independent councillors and smaller parties. A merger proposal by two councils in Sussex and Surrey will not go ahead after the government said it didn't meet the specified criteria. BBC News reported that the decision has been met with disappointment at Crawley Borough Council, with a spokesperson saying it was perplexing and not based on the merits of the proposal. The leader of Reigate and Banstead Borough Council, Richard Biggs, said he was disappointed but accepted the government's decision. There have been some wild stories out of the US of late, particularly relating to city managers and councils. In Texas, a city manager has been fired after a secret recording emerged of him allegedly threatening to kill a council member. That's according to a report from the Houston Chronicle. Freeport City Council terminated the employment contract of Lance Petty following a complex investigation involving the city's police chief. The City Council voted 3-1 to terminate Petty's contract and at the same time unanimously decided to cancel their agreement with its legal counsel. St. Cloud City Council in Florida has unanimously voted to remove its Deputy Mayor Sean Fletcher, their first openly gay member, from his position following controversy over his public statements about the council blocking a Pride Month proclamation. The decision came after Fletcher accused the council of targeting Pride Month by implementing a pause on all city proclamations, though he later apologised for some of his statements while maintaining his belief that the action was undemocratic. The Orlando Sentinel reported comments from the council meeting that suggested the reason for the removal was false information and resulting negative media coverage from Councillor Fletcher's statements and press release. In Canada, requests from local governments for the province of Nova Scotia to pause uranium exploration has not gone down well with the Premier. CBC News reported that Premier Tim Houston has sent detailed letters to municipalities who oppose uranium exploration, listing millions in provincial funding that they've received and suggesting future funding depends on allowing economic development projects to proceed. West Hants Regional Council recently resolved to request a pause to give communities more time to become better informed on the issue. The council's mayor said it was surprising to receive the letter, given that it came before it had even sent its official request. In a historic moment for neurodiversity awareness in Canada, Moncton in New Brunswick has this week become the first Canadian city to raise a neurodiversity pride flag. The initiative, part of the Global Neurodiversity Pride Day, celebrated on June 16, aims to promote understanding and acceptance of neurodiverse individuals while highlighting their contributions and needs across more than 60 participating countries. And in New Zealand, Auckland Council and New Zealand Police have signed a memorandum of understanding to strengthen their collaborative relationship in maintaining public safety and addressing community concerns. The agreement formalises a commitment to work together on areas of common interest, including tackling issues like retail crime and supporting vulnerable people. The MOU will be reviewed within 5 years. You've been listening to the Local Government News Roundup, edition number 465, recorded on the morning of Wednesday, the 18th of June, 2025. The podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. You can get more information about this episode, including story links, at lgnewsroundup.com. And you can access a transcript with story links in most podcast players. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Our next edition comes your way on Friday. Until then, thanks for listening, and bye for now. I'm thrilled to welcome Symphony 3 to the Local Government News Roundup family. If you're a local council, you know how challenging it can be to manage data across all your different systems. That's where Symphony 3 comes in. They've developed Smart Glue, a platform that integrates over 55 council systems, automating data flow without the need for manual work. It turns confusion into simplicity. With Smart Glue, councils save time, reduce errors and empower staff to focus on what really matters. Their clients see a real difference, up to 20% boost in productivity, with savings of over $30,000 per integration every year. Symphony 3 helps councils work smarter, faster and more efficiently, all while better supporting the communities they serve.